Now it's my pleasure to introduce an individual that needs no introduction. Our speaker's bio is, of course, in your app, but let me say a few things about our 27th state superintendent. He's a hard worker and a can-do individual. It was just last year at the conference, we briefly spoke with her about the need for state-sponsored principal mentoring programs. Here we are a year later implementing the Virginia Principals Mentoring Pilot at the elementary, middle, and high school level. She has VASSP, VAESP, and Virginia Foundation of Education Leadership all working with the VDOE on this important project. The goal is to learn from it and to codify it before the current gubernatorial administration leaves office. Also, at this very conference last year, she asked for our advice on creating a state advocacy council of school principals. Although the state superintendent is on our board at the VASSP, she had no issue with needing more principals and having input from more people across the state at the principals level. We appreciate her hard work and look forward to hearing from her this morning. Please help me welcome Dr. Lisa Coons to the podium.
Good morning. How is everybody today? It's beautiful, right? And you get to actually eat lunch today. Isn't that exciting? As a former middle school principal, the days I actually got to eat lunch not sitting next to a middle school student was a very rare occurrence. So I appreciate the opportunity to be in an adult space and get to have great conversations. And I hear you had an amazing presentation from Todd Whitaker this morning, so very excited. I want to start by saying thank you to you. Your hard work and dedication every single day for the students across the Commonwealth is incredible. And you need to be thanked continuously for choosing to be middle school and high school principals. So I want to start by saying thank you. I also want to thank you because Dave Meyer, sitting back in the back, does some magical data things. And he is telling me that as of March 31st, 80% of our schools in Virginia have improved their chronic absenteeism rates. That's tremendous. You heard Lynn talk about all the things. That's incredible. That means 4 out of 5 schools are working very, very hard. 5 out of 5 schools are working very, very hard. And we're already seeing return on investment from 4 out of 5 schools. And that's even harder in the middle school and high school space. Because a lot of times kids are coming not engaged and you have to re-engage them. So great work. Thank you. We are excited because we know the best place for our kiddos to be are in your walls, in your schools, participating in your activities, a part of the engagement work that Lynn talked about, a part of the things so they can be engaged in the community. We also know it's a place where we can help them with all of the challenges they experience. I want to give a couple of shout outs for those people who let me visit their schools so we can see the great work you're doing. First of all, when we talk about food insecurities, and the challenges our students are having, we know that has a direct impact on their ability to come to school. And I want to shout out Prince George and Colonial Beach, because when we were there, they were really working intentionally to tackle those challenges and think differently about how to use No Kid Hungry in the middle school and high school spaces. Next, we had the opportunity to spend the day in Hanover County and look at their mental health counseling centers that have sensory rooms, have spaces, have therapy dogs, and have significant wraparound resources for those students in middle school and high school spaces. Very excited to see the deep academic recovery work in Buckingham and in Radford County, and the intentional during the day programs using some of our statewide resources at no cost to help those students get caught up and a step ahead. So really appreciate the work that we were able to see in both of those spaces. We also got to see some innovative student leadership that you talked about, and seeing students really lead student government, student activities, student experiences. I had the joy of spending the day with student leaders in Hopewell. They started by giving presentations about their Student Leadership Council and ended the day with community members in culminating projects. In Williamsburg, their Student Leadership Council had created 4 houses, created activities, student engagement activities that happened 8 times a year. We're really seeing drastic changes in their student surveys. I've also seen tremendous work around those at-risk students who often drop out because they don't see a purpose. They don't see the reason why they're in high school. They don't see a to and through goal with their CTE programs. So we've visited amazing CTE centers in Culpeper, in Chesapeake, in Louisa, in Suffolk, in Roanoke, just really impressive work in developing engaging, innovative 24th century CTE programs that engage those students who may not otherwise be in school. We also have some people really breaking the box and really thinking outside of the box. And we talked to you last year about our goal to break the box of high school. And if there was a time, it was now. So I really want to give out a shout out to the maritime work of the lab school at Isle of Wight has worked on, the Health Sciences Academy that Smith County is partnering with Emory and Henry, the Aerospace Academy that's in Northampton and Accomack, and the really cool, one of my favorite, don't tell anyone, one of my favorite, the Teachers for Tomorrow program that Germana is working with the entire Shenandoah Valley, where students will come together and get an associate's degree before they leave high school in a Teachers for Tomorrow program at no cost. They will then become instructional assistants in the schools where they went and get their coursework in the evening and become teachers 2 years after graduating high school. Never leaving their community, never incurring debt, and replenishing the teacher supply, the instructional assistant pipeline in a rural area that needs that. So excited about the innovation and the creativity that is happening today, right now, in our schools that you are all a part of. If I get to visit your school, I can talk about you next year. So make sure I'm coming because I know it's happening. And it's really exciting to see the work and the opportunities we're providing for children. Those are the kind of things that are changing the data day in and day out. So I really want to thank you. And then as we look at DOE leadership, we are also working to break the box. We're also working to say, be different. I know there's a ton of DOE staff here today doing sessions. There's a ton of staff doing roundtable tomorrow. We are really seeking feedback in all of our sessions. We are asking for your voice and your collaboration, so we're excited to have you here with us and to be here with you. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Armstrong sitting on the right. He is leading our state in a national think tank around launch, which is really redesigning our post-secondary workforce programs, really redesigning our CTE work in collaboration with 11 states and 5 different nonprofit groups to help us really think differently. We have already seen some work through the legislature with seat time flex and endorsing that seat time flex so students don't need 140 clock hours to get a Carnegie unit credit that was designed in 1906. So tomorrow, Deputy Secretary Gullickson is going to run a couple of roundtables on how to think differently and how you think differently about schedule for those students who need, I don't know, say a year and a half to do algebra and not have to fail and start over and do credit recovery. For those students who need 4 weeks to do algebra, or a variety of things, changing how work-based learning looks, changing that flexibility so they can get their CTE clock hours and it doesn't mess with your everyday schedule. There's a lot of opportunities with that legislation. There was also legislation passed that allows you to take CTE courses and use them for elective credits. Please, please, please watch for the July 8th special legislative update. The team will be putting out a massive package of information and how-to on those items to help you really think about the context and the opportunities within the legislation to help us move forward. There's also several flexibilities around licensure that we'll be moving into after the board meeting in July, so we're really excited about some of the licensure flexibilities that will be available at the superintendent level. You should be really chatting with your superintendents, in particular those of you who have hard to staff vacancies. There's some flexibility there, flexibilities with CTE staff. We're hoping to continue to work on that to get more flexibilities so that you can really hire the best people for those spaces. We're also really focusing on readiness. We know that in high school, you need kids who come to you from middle school ready. And we know middle school principals need students who come to you middle school ready. So we're really thinking differently about readiness and what it means to be readiness. You talked about the 5 C's and the importance of the 5 C's, and we're really thinking about incorporating that in the performance and support framework so that we really gauge how our elementary students are doing and making sure they can communicate, collaborate, and critically think. How our middle school students are having the opportunity to engage in career readiness experiences so they're ready to think about the different things in high school. And then in high school, we're really leaning into something called the 3E framework. You guys are the first people we get to talk about 3E framework with. We've been holding it for today. Enlistment, enrollment, and employment. How are we doing an and model? We are on the first step with the CCCRI, right? It starts to give you recognition for one of those items. But I've gone to John I. Burton's graduation twice. Thank you. I don't know if you all are here today, but they invite me every year, and we figured out how to do that. A third of their students graduate with an associate's degree and an industry-recognized credential. But the students only count once in CCCRI. They should count twice. They've had two. They've had an enrollment and an employment opportunity. They should be able to count an and. And we need to think differently about making sure the more opportunities our students have, the more we recognize them. Yesterday, my entire leadership team got to be at the apprenticeship school in Newport News. I don't know how many of you have done that. It is the most amazing experience that you will ever experience. All of us got to go to college. All of us had the joy of getting a college degree. But a lot of us have not really been in an apprenticeship school. We've not really seen what happens in that work, in that CTE readiness work. It was incredible to be on an aircraft carrier. It was incredible to see the pride that every single apprentice graduate, 20-year apprentice graduate had about their experiences in their apprenticeship. Those students are getting the equivalent of $300,000 scholarship at no cost. They're getting paid, they're getting 4 years, they graduate with an associate's degree, they have a reduced rate apartment, and those apprentices are working alongside high wage, high demand career fields and getting top-notch experiences. They're on pathways to get engineering degrees, and it's just an incredible experience. But it happens after high school. And so a lot of my conversation with Dr. McCain was, how do we get this in 11th and 12th grade? How do we work and partner? And I don't know who's here from Virginia Beach, but they are starting to partner with Virginia Beach to think about that and make sure those students are getting experiences in their junior and senior year that changes junior and senior year. And we all have to continue to work to think about what should look different in junior and senior year to make sure our students have and opportunity. They're able to get an associate's degree. They're able to have that high wage, high demand credential. They're able to choose and enlist if they want to with those experiences. But that means students coming to high school have to be high school ready, which means we have to make sure our middle school experiences are great, rich, and have opportunities, which means elementary students have to leave elementary ready. So that is a key focus for us to make sure that if we're really going to break the box in high school and really think differently, that our students are ready at each section. I also want to talk to you about this concept of re-engagement. If our students are excited, I'm so excited I get to talk after Lynn talked about engagement and the importance of engagement. That is the overall health of whether or not our students are engaged. And we are working deeply, shoulder to shoulder, with a statewide chronic absenteeism task force. We have a representative from the high school principals on that task force giving us feedback and giving us recommendations. What we are starting to hear is that we really need to lean into middle schools and middle school re-engagement strategy. So you're going to see a large package of resources and a large side-by-side approach to really working on attendance and supporting our middle schools. Last year I talked about the advisory council for principals at large. We really need 4 or 5 middle school principals to help us think about middle school attendance, help us lean into the challenges that are happening in middle school attendance, and help us think with you about removing those barriers and those challenges. If you are interested, you need to contact, I'm sorry, Randy, not sorry. You need to contact Randy and let us know you want to be part of that middle school work on attendance. Because if we're going to make sure kiddos are high school ready, We need to make sure we're helping you ensure kids are coming to school every day in middle school because of the amazing resources that are happening in middle school. Last but not least, because they're going to kick me off at 11:15, I want to make sure I get to talk about this. We've spent a lot of time talking about mental health. And we've spent a lot of time talking about mental health post-pandemic. I really encourage you to get the audiobook, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, because the data in there is real clear. That depression, anxiety, suicide, self-harm did not start increasing after the pandemic. If we look at 2010 to 2024, depression rates, 2010, have gone up 145% for our 12 to 17-year-old girls, 161% for our boys. And suicide attempts, 167% for girls and 91% for boys, but not because of the pandemic. If I lay those graphs out for you here, and then I lay the graphs of smartphones and the access of smartphones to young people, it looks like the same exact line. And when you look at those graphs, and Jonathan Haidt has graphs from CDC, from surveys, we just had the information from the Attorney General come out. Encourage you to read the book, encourage you to look at the graphs. It is from 2010, and the post-pandemic is just a blip on the radar. And as you read about what he's talking about, the social media access, y'all see it every day in your classrooms. Those of you who allow cell phones, you see it in the hallways. You see all the things that the smartphone has created to distract our students, but not just distract, it's causing significant mental health challenges for our children, which all of us are trying to recover from the variety of supports. It is time, as we think about rethinking middle school and high school, as we think about AI, as we think about the different things that we need to be doing to provide opportunities for our children, to make sure they're engaged. They have great seat time flex, they have great coursework, they have CTE opportunities, they have enrichment, they have enrollment. They're able to do enlistment like JROTC. We also have to think about devices. As you're thinking about your comprehensive approach, as your school leader, it is time for us to think about our approach to devices. Where are devices actually helping us, and are personal devices actually yielding the results we want? Because it's time for us to really think differently. Because we are the leaders, people are looking to us to signal whether it's okay for our kids to have social media and smartphones and devices in classroom, in instruction. It's time for us to look at the data and say, what should be happening during instructional time? What should be happening with our children? If we're really going to break the box, we have to put a stake in the sand, not only on scheduling, not only on AI, but we really have to think differently about smart devices, about social media, not just because they're distracting things in the classroom, but because they're impacting the health of our children. And we are all managing the downstream impacts of that health. So I want to thank you again, because you are doing really hard work. And you are choosing to serve our children in a time where they need you, and they need your caring leadership and your visionary opportunities to break the box more than our students have ever needed us before. So thank you for choosing to do the work you're doing. We are here side by side. We are so excited to hear feedback from you. We are so excited to work collaboratively and continue working. We are really excited about continuing on the journey of breaking the box and thinking differently, but I encourage you to think about the whole landscape that are impacting our children, and take the time while you're driving to listen to the audiobook, take a minute to download the PDF and the data, because it is really overwhelming. But thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you very much.